Hey everyone, welcome to Workshop 4. We're doing Chapter 5 and 6 this week, almost halfway through the course. So continue the good work in the discussion center and the homeworks and the quizzes. We'll be there before you know it. This week we're doing Chapter 5 and 6. Chapter 5 I'll spend the most amount of time on because it's inventory. Then we'll cover a little bit of things in Chapter 6, but I'll leave that mostly to your review and discussion forum topics and questions there. Make sure you have the study guide for Workshop 4 as well as a curriculum guide as we go through this little workshop video. We'll go ahead and look at the study guide here and see what we got. What we're doing is taking that cost of goods formula from the previous chapter, Chapter 4, where we start out with beginning inventory, we add the purchases and transportation in. That gets us the cost of merchandise available for sale. All those are things that we actually know from previous experience or from our ledger through the current period. And then we subtract ending inventory to get to cost of goods sold. Remember, cost of goods sold goes to the income statement and determines gross profit. So the question that we have here is, what is ending inventory? And it would be real simple if we knew exactly what was on hand, how much that cost, but that's frequently not the case. So we have to make some what we call cost flow assumptions, which is what we're doing in this workshop video in this chapter. So there's 4 different methods that we're going to look at to figure out what is that ending inventory valuation that needs to be subtracted from cost of goods available for sale in order to get to cost of goods sold. I've had those identified for you on the study guide. The first one is specific identification, and the easiest way to do this is to take you through a little example problem that I've created. We'll look at each of the 4 cost flow assumptions and how they would be calculated for a real simple problem. Once you get the hang of it, it's pretty simple to transfer this to a more complex problem with more entries. But let's look at something I've created here. I'll give you a chance to write it down. This is basically an inventory ledger for a company that at the beginning of the year starts with 10 units in inventory, which they had purchased previously for $5. This is an extended cost, so this column times this column equals the cost. 10 units times $5 equals 50. That was what was in beginning inventory in January 1st. Later on, in March, they purchased another 25 units for a cost of $7 and an extended cost of $175. Later on in July, they purchased an extra 15, price of $9 at that time for a cost of $135. All these total is $360, a total of 50 units. What is this $360? What would this be on our income statement there in our formula? Well, this would be the cost of goods available for sale. Remember, we added beginning inventory plus our purchases gets us to the cost of merchandise available for sale. From here, we would subtract what we calculate as ending inventory, and then we would get our cost of goods sold. So we need to figure out what are we going to subtract. I've given you here this information. What is the ending units at the end of the year 12/31? Well, we have 20 units on hand. Okay. Now these 20 units, we need to assign a cost to these 20 units, and these are the different options that we have: specific identification, FIFO, LIFO, and average cost. Okay. So under specific identification, our first option here, this basically is the most accurate because we have the most information. We know specifically where these 20 units come from. We can assign them to each of the different buckets here. In this example here, I haven't included this but on the study guide, but I'll just go ahead and tell you. I said 2 of them came from this bucket that were there at the beginning of the period. 5 came from this bucket, and 13 came from the ending purchases. So when we get to the end of the year on 12/31, we know because these are apparently large purchases and we've tracked them well enough that they belong in these particular buckets. Like these 13 came from this purchase that we made in July. So ideally this would be the best situation, and if you have large dollar items like cars, you would know specifically what bucket it came in. The problem is most companies are buying bulk items like pencils or groceries or something, and they don't know specifically where it came in. But in this case we have specific identification. We know what those units are. So we would take 2 times 5, 5 times 7, 13 times 9, each of our 20 units here times their cost, and that would give us a total inventory cost of 162. 162. That would be our ending units, or ending inventory under specific identification. Essentially, that's what I did. I took the 2 units from this bucket, I times it by the price that they initially cost to get us 10, 5 times 7 to get us 35, the same thing, 13 times 9 to get us 117, a total of 162, okay? So that would be specific identification. What about FIFO? Now, FIFO stands for first in, first out. Essentially what that means is the first items that are coming in are the first items that are sold. That is our assumption. And this is typically what most companies assume is FIFO. Now, an example of this that I wrote in the study guide is a burger bin. So let me draw that out for you. Forgive my crude illustration here, but here's the chef. We'll give him a little chef's hat. And he's making burgers in the back of Burger King or wherever and putting them in a burger bin, dropping them down. Okay, here's a customer here who's coming on the front side of the burger bin and grabbing this first burger here and taking it to the counter and purchasing it. So the first one's in. These were the old ones. It took a while to work its way down the burger bin until this person got it. So first in, first out. The first ones that were put in are the first ones that are taken out. The last ones in are going to be the ones that are going to be remaining in our ending inventory. So this is why whenever you go to the grocery store, I always tell students, reach to the back and pull the milk from the back. Usually those are going to be the newest ones because they load them just like this, like they do a burger bin, because they figure customers are going to come and pull the first one. So you get the freshest stuff by reaching to the back. That's FIFO. So what does that mean for our assumptions up here? Okay, the first ones in are up here. These are going to be the first ones that are sold, and the ending inventory is going to come from down here in the most recent purchases. So we have 20 units left. What we're going to do is work back using our layers here. So 15, we have 20, so all of these 15 are going to go into ending inventory. 15 times the 9 cost is 135, and we have 5 left, so we pull from this section here. 5 times 7, 35. Add those together, 170. 170 is our FIFO ending inventory. You got that? You see how I did that? So what would be the units that are in the cost of goods sold? Well, they would be the 10 from this first bucket and 20 from the second bucket, first in, first out. Okay? Now LIFO